A 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, hello.
Masters of Rock Talk, back on the dial, traveling at a speed of 45 RPMs, where the vinyl will bring you to a new destination. On with the show. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm one of your co-hosts and co-creators, Ferris Kennedy, and in the studio with me today, across from me, wearing a pastel blue shirt, a man who is very good friends with Albert Hammond.
My name is Dr. Ian Clarke, and yes, I am a certified doctor.
And the man to the right of me in the booth, he's back again. So you guys have already had him back to back to back to back to back to back. None other than the legend himself, the man that likes to go by the name Nipples.
Stephen Wheeler.
And
no, I'm not a doctor.
And here we are today. So, Ian, today, from what I understand, you are going to be talking about a metal god who is very religious?
I know, it doesn't work. Although you'll notice there's a lot of Christian iconography throughout metal's world. I'm talking about Alice Cooper. I've always found Alice Cooper like Jim Morrison or Frank Zappa or David Bowie, one of those rock stars that's a little too smart for the job. And because of that, he often does interesting, innovative things that were never thought of before. I think John Lennon was like that too. He does a lot of goth rock, shock rock, heavy metal staging, rock theater. And a lot of that, was invented in part by Alice Cooper. He goes way back. I'll get to that. I wonder, where would Kiss be without Alice Cooper? Would we have Meatloaf? What I'm trying to do is place the importance of Alice Cooper in the development of rock and roll. So let's begin at the beginning. Alice Cooper was born Vincent Damon Furnier, February 1948 in Detroit, Michigan, son of a pastor. That's important to remember that. He moved with his family when he was 12, first to California, later to Arizona, where the Furniers lived in a trailer park. Vincent had been afflicted with asthma from birth, and the city's air conditions were expected to improve his health. A lot of people used to go to Arizona back then for asthma. But within 2 months, he developed peritonitis from a burst appendix. That is very serious. It is a quote from Alice. I was only 98 pounds and had spent a year and a half hunched over in bed, which left a curvature of my spine and shoulders, which could have put the hunchback of Notre Dame, to shame. Battled back to health, thanks to an enthusiasm for long-distance running. He was a great long-distance runner. And he met a guy at school called Cortez High School named Dennis Dunaway. Keep that in mind, because he proves to be important later on. So he and his fellow track team members formed their first band, the Earwigs, and they played a gig in 1964. That's how far back Alice Cooper goes, performing, 1964. A lot of people just know him from the mid-70s and on. This is a quote from Dunaway's buddy. Glenn Buxton played guitar. Another Cortez Letterman guy, Phil Wheeler, played a snare drum. John Spear and I sang and pretended to play guitars, while Vince sang and pretended to play ukulele. This is like a joke band, right? We changed the lyrics to Beatles songs to be sports-oriented. We wore cheap Beatle wigs and had a blast. Vince was always losing things. He left a trail behind him, so we never knew if he'd be able to keep control of an instrument, but he had a knack for remembering lyrics, which none of the rest of us had. And even though he was a skinny nerd with a wimpy voice, if you look closer, he was exceptionally congenial. Perhaps that's why I should subtitle this Alice Cooper talk, A Skinny Nerd with a Wimpy Voice. Fantastic the way bands start. You always expect more of an apocalyptic meeting, but life is just happenstance. So there we have little Vince singing his heart out, and he's with his high school buddies. And this little nerdy guy becomes Alice Cooper. So from humble beginnings, the Earwigs gradually became a tight unit, entering talent shows and Battle of the Bands. And they became more accomplished. They changed their name to the Spiders, recording their Who and Yardbirds-influenced debut single, Why Don't You Love Me, in 1965. So with each stylistic shift and discovery of a new Brit invasion template, it's funny the way the American bands were influenced by the Beatles and Stones, etc. There came another name change. In the Spiders, 1966, they recorded a song called Don't Blow Your Mind. Boy, is that a 60s title. Shortly after moving to Santa Monica in 67, they settled on a 5-man lineup. Now, their music caught the attention of Frank Zappa. Okay, no Frank Zappa, no Alice Cooper. One of these days we'll do a show on Frank Zappa. I'm not a huge Zappa fan by any means, but he's so ridiculously influential. He changed lives. One of those guys that didn't drink, didn't do drugs in the 60s, and he could read music and orchestrate. Very strange cat. So Zappa said, why don't you audition for me? So this is Dunaway talking about that. So we set up right outside Frank's bedroom door. We played so loud that the pictures on the wall ended up crooked. We woke him up with that. I thought he'd shoot us, but he offered us a contract. I liked Frank a lot. We both loved doo-wop and electronic music, so he invited me over and we play records for hours. They recorded some sessions for their first album called Pretties for You. And the other trivia about everybody kind of knows this, isn't the Zappa or Alice Cooper. Zappa said, show up at 7 for your audition. They thought he meant 7 a.m. That's why they went to his bedroom. He meant 7 p.m. So, you know what I mean? So let's talk about the band name for a second here. Here's Alice Cooper talking. I was creating a fantasy. I looked all around me and saw all these Peter Pans and no Captain Hook. I saw the Black Queen and Barbarella and said, that's Alice right there. What he means is Barbarella was a 1968 Roger Vadim movie with Jane Fonda, and there was a character in there named the Black Queen. To get back to the quote, she had black gloves with switchblades coming out of the end, and black makeup over her eyes with one patch. I could see something happening with the comic book effect. And I said, yeah, that's definitely Alice. So you can see where he got his inspiration, right? He wears that kind of fright makeup even to this day. In 1969, they released Pretties for You and a follow-up album called Easy Action, 1 year later. This is Dunaway talking again. In the early days, Vince was shy. He'd stand with his back to the audience for a whole set. By the way, Jim Morrison used to do that. When the Doors started, he couldn't face the audience. It took a while before it to kind of spin around. Back to the quote. So at rehearsal, when we were starving in California, I suggested he develop a different character for each song. When he played covers, he had no problem being Keith Relf. Keith Relf was from the Yardbirds, or Mick Jagger, but when he did our own material, he was at a loss. So when we did a song called Nobody Likes Me, he became a lonely guy singing through a window. In other words, what he decided to do, Alice Cooper, is stage the songs. Because he was a shy, reserved guy, he had to get into characters. And he finally discovered Alice Cooper. And that was the character he held on to. Okay, so they're playing in LA clubs. Here's Dunaway again. Despite the illusion of finally conquering Hollywood with shows at the Whiskey A Go-Go with Led Zeppelin, they opened for Zeppelin. A long string of engagements at the Cheetah Club. It was a big club on the LA Strip. And a slightly noticeable album with Frank Zappa's association. We left that town broke with our tail between our legs. We were too weird for Hollywood. I love that. Too weird for Hollywood. But that happens. I mean, Alice Cooper was so far out. So almost immediately, the group gained reputation for outrageous performances. And one famous incident, a fan threw a live chicken onto stage. Wow, signs of Ozzy Osbourne here. Cooper responded by picking up the bird and throwing it into the air. But he didn't know much about chickens. He thought they could fly, just soar up over the rooftops. But it landed, of course, in the hands of the audience, and it was torn into pieces. In an altered version of the story, Cooper killed the bird himself and drank its blood. Frank Zappa told Cooper not to tell reporters the real story. You see, Frank was smart. You know, he knew how to curate the vibe.
Out of curiosity, do you know if this actually inspired the I thought turkeys could fly from WKRP?
Maybe, right, eh?
Yeah.
Because this would be, like 71?
Yeah.
I didn't know chickens couldn't fly until my neighbor had a bunch of them, and they would roost. They go as high as maybe 6 feet, 7 feet of the fence, and that's it. It's done.
They can't. We bred all that out of them. They can't,
That's unfortunate.
Well, they taste good. So by now, Alice eventually earned the sobriquet, the godfather of shock rock. As for success, Alice said, quote, "Keep in mind that we initially thought Pretties for You and Easy Action were going to set the world on fire. So with 2 strikes against us, we were gun shy, and even though the music sounded better than ever, we felt it was our final shot. So we were treading on thin ice during those sessions. It really didn't hit me until Rosalie Trombley started playing I'm 18 on CKLW out of Windsor, Canada." There you go. Their listener request came in such a tidal wave that they moved it into their heaviest rotation. Every fifth song was I'm 18, I Love You, Rosalie. There you go. Canadian DJ changed his life. So I'm 18 was the big hit. It peaked at number 21 on the U.S. singles chart since June 71, Love It to Death. Alice Cooper's first album to benefit from Bob Ezrin's, know him well, production, theatrical vision, etc. And it capitalized on 18. And as I said, he barely had time to recover from the success. Quote, "We were just a garage band that had all the right stuff. We had the right ideas, the right theatrics, the right sense of humor, and the right drive to get it done. We were in the right place at the right time." And so they honed their music under the direction of Bob Ezrin. The third album, Love It to Death, which was a huge album, found the audience with the single I'm 18, and Killer, which everyone knows, was another success. The title track of School's Out, 1972, was a top 10 hit, sure was. And then Billion Dollar Babies, 1973, I bought the 45. No More Mr. Nice Guy, Muscle of Love in 73, like he was peaking, right? In terms of on-stage theatricality, the band would murder infant dolls and use fake guillotines, electric chairs, all this during a dry ice performance. And Cooper did really well with this kind of surrealistic rock. In fact, the surrealistic painter Salvador Dali filmed him. How's that? By 73, he changed his name legally to Alice Cooper to avoid legal disruptions over the ownership of the group name. They last performed as a group in 1974, April. He released Welcome to My Nightmare in 75. It was a huge album. I remember he made some kind of either a movie or a video for it, which was very unique for the time. His next several albums were disappointments as his addiction to alcohol and cocaine took on an increasing toll. Hey, the same old story, right? After hospitalization, he recovered his health, achieved sobriety, I suppose, and later regained the spotlight with Constrictor. That was a big album, and Trash was pretty big too in 89. In addition, in the 1980s, he began making appearances in low-budget films by John Carpenter and the like. He put out like Hey Stupid in 1991, Last Temptation in 94, Welcome to My Nightmare. There's a follow-up in 2011. He was in Tim Burton's Dark Shadows, Wayne's World, in cameo appearances. The character of Alice Cooper has entered pop culture. In a way, he's become a de facto ringmaster for a number of groups over the years. So let's talk about one of the most recent ones, the Hollywood Vampires. Now, the Hollywood Vampires was formed in 2011 by Cooper, Johnny Depp, and Joe Perry. And the band derives its name from the Hollywood Vampires, a celebrity drinking club really, formed by Cooper in 1970s, which included John Lennon, Ringo Starr, Harry Nilsson, Keith Moon, and Mickey Dolenz. Other people included were Duff McKagan and Robert DeLeo from Stone Temple Pilots. I didn't know this. They had 2 albums with guest appearances by Paul McCartney, Dave Grohl, Joe Walsh, Zach Starkey, and Christopher Lee, of all people. And what I hope I got across in this podcast is that you don't have to like or dislike a particular artist. If you enjoy the possibilities of rock and roll, it's good. It's enriching enough just to study the personalities who changed the path. The Chuck Berrys, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Buddy Hollys, whatever it is, without them, you wouldn't be listening to music that you obviously love. And Alice Cooper is one of those personalities and should be celebrated. And by the way, he is currently on tour and doing quite well. This has been Dr. Clarke, and you are always welcome to my nightmare.
That's a very interesting segue. I like the way it goes. And with Alice Cooper, you have to... I've noticed a lot throughout the years, things that he says and how he presents himself with the general public. I like how he says that people in his, not his realm, but I guess people that are celebrities, should not be using their name as a soapbox to
I
get their
know.
message. I love the way he does that.
It's pretty cool.
And he's very big about talking about Jesus and all of how people should, don't talk about enough the one of the most written characters in the world, right? It was kind of interesting the way he portrays himself that way, because they portray themselves demonic, but they're not.
No, I mean, Ozzy wears a crucifix.
Exactly. But yeah, and Ozzy's the same thing. He's Catholic. He presents a demonic look, but
And you have to love the fact that you can only imagine like one of his younger fans who only knows the character.
I know.
If they ever cross him on the golf course in the entire regalia of the golf course, so the puffy pants, that little hat, it just I think some people have such a preconceived notion of who he is, which is so far off.
I
Like
know.
you said, it's a character.
He's an amazing golfer.
He's an amazing golfer, lifelong Republican. Like
I know.
huge hockey fan.
The man and the artist are completely different creatures.
It's just, I hope I got that across. It's like you being Dracula every night. Like you just got this character you do, and then you go home and eat a bowl of Cheerios. Like it's just a character he does called Alice Cooper. It was just the name of the band. They thought, oh, so you're Alice Cooper. And after a while, he said, yeah, that'd be right. He just adopted it,
Yeah.
right? So, he's an interesting guy. He's a big golfing buddy of Glenn Campbell. They were pals. So,
He's a good community guy.
True. Yeah.
He's he was the one that, well, unfortunately he couldn't do it this time around, but the Arizona Coyotes are now to Utah, and he was the one that ended up saving them the last time around.
really?
Manning the whole campaign to
I didn't
keep
know
them
that.
in. He was always at the games. Obviously, being from Detroit, being a Red Wings guy, I'm assuming he adopted hockey quite quick.
Maybe, yeah, but I know he's an Arizona guy.
He is.
loves Arizona.
But I love the fact also that it's so surreal that he got big in the 70s, because
Yeah.
we're talking about a guy, for the vinyl collectors out there, he had a record that came in paper pennies.
Did it
And-
really?
Yeah, but at the same time, more or less, I think it's in those years, he appeared on the Muppet Show.
I
So
know.
it's just...
I know.
The 70s have something that's slightly surreal.
And the Staples commercial,
Yes.
where I think it's his daughter, or someone that's
really?
portraying as his daughter. She's like, "Well, I thought you said school's out forever." He's like, "Just for the summer." But this is interesting, Ian. So I have here something for
Sure.
the two of you. Obviously, I will just list them off, and you guys just yammer at it if you want. So I got this from our good friends at UCR, and I like how they title it. Alice Cooper albums ranked.
Okay.
And you can't kill Alice Cooper. So basically, you can't really cancel the guy because he's Alice
No.
Cooper. He doesn't care. Like Eminem, you could try all you want. He's not doing it for fame. He's not doing it for fortune. He's doing it for sport. So Alice Cooper, now what he does today, whether he speaks out against actors that are trying to pass a message that he feels, why you bother? He doesn't care. He's doing it for sport. So here they have some albums. I was actually kind of shocked that he did 28 albums because he's been quiet for a while.
I know.
So I'm going to yammer them off, and you guys just say,
Sure.
Yep. So they have them ranked. This is how they have them ranked. So number 28, they have Raise Your Fist and Yell, the 1987 release.
Yeah.
Not his best period.
No, in the late 80s, he wasn't really himself.
But then again, most of the big guys from the 60s and 70s weren't really themselves in the late 80s.
Yeah, good point. Clapton was a mess.
This one here is pretty funny. I caught the pun on this one. The Zipper Catches the Skin, 1982.
Great title, not necessarily the best album.
Ian, Constrictor, you talked about it was one of his better.
I'm surprised. Would they have a 20-something, you said?
26.
Yeah, it's not a bad album. Okay, well, I
Yeah.
guess that's their thing.
So here's a 25. They have Hey Stupid.
I don't know it. That one I don't know.
Okay. What did they say here? Well, this one here, Hey Stupid, actually has a list of guest stars like Slash, Ozzy Osbourne, Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, Nikki Sixx, and Mick Mars.
Whoa.
That's a nice little healthy lineup.
I'll say.
Yeah.
That's probably why it's there, because
Yeah, right.
probably somebody sees that as the lineup on the record, they put it
Yeah.
on, and if it's okay, they're pissed because they were expecting something great, maybe.
All right.
It's like an all-star team in hockey. I always expect them to
Exactly.
play really well, and you realize they're not even the same team.
No, exactly, that's true.
So
24, they got Special Forces. Lace and Whiskey, I obviously know what that
yeah,
means.
that one.
77, that's when he started having fun. Pretty's For You, number 21, which was released in 69, so
Yeah.
obviously it's his first one.
Everybody knows because this is first. Yeah.
Along Came a Spider. Brutal Planet, number 19.
Don't know it.
Trash, number 18.
Heard of it, yeah. I thought it was pretty good.
Paranormal, number 17.
Don't know it.
Number 16, Alice Goes to Hell. Dragon Town.
Never heard of it. Gee. No wonder he's 28 albums.
Detroit Stories.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah. Muscle of Love.
Yeah, that was a big one.
The Last Temptation.
Big.
The Eyes of Alice Cooper.
Don't know it.
Okay. Welcome to My Nightmare.
Well, great
yeah.
album.
The number 2. 2011 one. That's made the top
I wonder
10.
what they must have. Was it a re-release or a remix or something? That's a great album.
Well, here's the funny thing. So my buddy DJ Sin, he just picked up the vinyl at a garage sale. He paid $30 exactly for this one here. He posted on his Instagram. As soon as he scanned it into his collection, it's worth $250.
Really?
Yeah, so there must be some sort of, I guess, when you go to these garage sales, you're like, oh, thank you, you know.
Yeah.
Well, it's like that old cartoon of the little boy saying to his dad, "Oh, Dad, I'm selling a few records to get money for my allowance," and the husband has the dad has this moment of clarity, and he starts running because the son is selling Beatles and Pink Floyd, and it's just like the look of panic on his face, and it's probably that. It's probably like a kid who thought, oh, like vinyl's really big right now. What do they sell it for in the store? $20, $30. I can make it easy.
It wasn't a kid, it was an older guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so
There
you
you
just
go.
didn't know what he had.
Yeah. So number 9, we have From the Inside, 78 release.
Don't know it. The 70s were bad for him too. Late
2005, Dirty Diamonds.
70s. Yeah.
Flush the Fashion, 1980.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
83, Dada. 1975, which was top 5 now. Welcome to My Nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
You know, Bienvenue au Cauchemar. School's Out, 1972.
Great album.
Love It to Death.
Sure. Top album.
And obviously number 2 is Killer.
Great album.
That's his best album.
I think I have it.
And then they say his best album is Billion Dollar Babies.
That's a really good album.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he is.
Yeah.
You know, that's, like Ozzy stuff from the late 60s, early 70s. That's what he is.
Now, here's something for the two of you that you might kind of give your head scratches saying, wow, I didn't know this. They have 10 most underrated Alice Cooper songs.
Really?
And I don't even know half of these.
We don't even know how,
So here we go. Lost in America. The Black Widow, you talked about it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call that underrated. We all know that one.
Caught in a Dream.
Don't know that.
Beautiful Fly Away. Looney Tunes from School's Out. Number 5, Black Juju.
Don't know it.
Black Juju.
Juju.
Yeah, Juju. Number 4, Public Animal. Number
I've heard of.
3, Living.
No, I wonder what album that's from.
Living would be from the album known as Pretty's for You,
Oh,
1969.
I was going to say it's the first one. Okay.
Then we have Generation Landslide from Billion Dollar Babies.
Oh, wow.
And then from Killer, they have Halo of Flies.
You gotta love his titles, right? He's so goth. He's so goofy.
I think sometimes when they say underrated, it's just like they're on an album where there are such great songs that they're still very good songs. It's just compared to, like, it's like having a Lamborghini next to a Jaguar.
right.
Like,
Yeah,
they're
good-
still two great cars. It's just
Good
one.
point.
It's a
really good
B-sides,
point.
right? That's
Yeah.
how they go. And then the final thing to make everybody know what they're talking about would be the top 10 Alice Cooper songs. So, Ian, I think you're going to be quite happy with this list.
Okay.
Number 10, Desperado,
Desperado.
from the album Killer. He says basically they were saying that this song was about Jim Morrison, or
Really?
a character in the
You're kidding.
movie The Magnificent Seven.
Oh, wow. Well, that's an interesting influence.
Okay. Number 9, Welcome to My Nightmare.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And number 8, Be My Lover.
Okay.
Well, they say with a riff borrowed from the Velvet Underground and an attitude cop from the Rolling Stones, Be My Lover ranks as one
Okay.
of the original Alice Cooper band's best and most conventional songs.
All right.
Number 7, Poison.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody knows that one.
Okay. Under My Wheels. Number 6, from Killer. It says the first single from the band's 4th album features one of the original quintet's best ever performances, from stumbling drums that intro the song to the chugging guitar riff that fuels it to one of Cooper's toughest vocals.
Under My Wheels. Okay.
Yeah. Billion Dollar Babies.
Oh, yeah.
Number 4, No More Mr. Nice Guy.
I always like that song.
I do too.
It's a fun song.
Number 3, Elected.
Oh, yeah. It's a great song.
Number 2, I'm 18.
Oh, well, it's an anthem.
That's right. And then the number one song, which is perfect time of the season for all the kids, School's Out.
School's Out. Yeah, it's a great song. We were all singing it when it came out.
Of course we were. Everyone was singing it around June.
Teachers, dirty looks. Loved it.
And that's what I have
Well,
for
thanks very much. That was super informative.
Furnier.
Leading me through that. Yeah, there you go. And Alice Cooper, one of the rock gods, still around, still with us. So, in fact, he's touring. He's in Europe as I speak. So maybe he'll come back and do North America.
I hope so. I saw him live. He's pretty good.
Is he?
Yeah. Just a snake freaks me out, but that's about it. So anyway, that's it.
That's it too.
C2. So I'm Ferris Kennedy.
Stephen Wheeler.
Dr. Ian Clarke.
That's it. We're out of here.
Bye-bye.